Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time, we went to the school, and we saw that Nanami was in school and we went to approach her and say, I don't know, we felt really bad about all of the things that we'd done. And we're kind of abandoning her and being a bad brother, and then we went to speak to her and we noticed that there was a white band on her wrist, and we froze and we were like, holy fuck, what's that? So it could be that Nanami has had her hand removed and then reattached. I'm pretty sure that isn't what's happened. There's got to be something else about that. But we're going to find out now. We've just went over to Mimose's office, where I think Ban is right now. Oh no, he's running late. Initiated by Mimose, a meeting was slated to be held at Frisia Credit Bureau. A meeting to which Ban was now running nearly half an hour late for. Who is it?
Ban-chan, you're awfully late. I'm not getting any younger, you know.
Mimose's angry voice hurtled into him as he entered the office. In response to this, Ban gave a minor shrug, then proceeded to walk up to the desk of Frisia's president with an amiable smile on his face. He'd not brought any refreshments today, something he was beginning to believe may have been a lapse in judgment.
Where's Suo-chan?
He's off working on another project for the day.
You sure do enjoy working youngsters to the bone.
Hey, I'm working hard too, Missy. I was up all night yesterday, doing all kinds of research and to get lucky. Thanks to that, I've learned a thing or two about the culture surrounding high school girls these days.
You what? You could get arrested for that.
I'm at a loss for words. Something you're very talented at causing.
Well, anyway, since you called me here, does that mean you got in touch with the kid?
Yes. She's right here now, in fact.
Nice work, Momo-chan. Oh, and while we're on the topic, she a cutie?
I've not seen this side of Ban and don't know whether I like it. Mimose promptly smacked Ban over the head, stopping his opportunistic grin in its tracks. The sheer speed with which she had turned her wrist made the slap especially fierce. The slap heard around the world.
That's enough stupidity out of your mouth for one day, you old lech.
I was just kidding.
Not very funny, Ban. Before arriving at the building, Ban made a private request to Mimose. It entailed setting up a meeting between him and a certain person connected to the new gen cases. Rather than anything work related, it was merely to satiate a personal curiosity. He was not planning on talking about anything related to the new gen investigations for the time being. And due to his position, Ban could not simply meet with the person on his own, else he would risk drawing the ire of the detectives he was getting ahead of. But yeah, because he's not supposed to be working on certain cases in the new gen murders, right? Which seems to be weird. You'd think that he would be working on all of them, right? Anyway, Mimose urged Ban over to a corner of the office. It was a fairly cramped space, almost all of which was already taken up by shelves packed full of files. The location was used as a reception area of sorts, and a pair of love seats had been wedged into the only place they could fit. Ban entered the section after Mimose, and his eyes landed upon a lone girl sitting in one of the love seats. The girl was wearing a Sumai Academy uniform. Her head and shoulders were curved toward the ground and she looked incredibly haggard.
Sorry to make you wait, dear.
Oh, it's you! The girl looked up in startlement upon hearing Mimose. In the process, her glasses had slipped down her nose a bit, leading her to swiftly readjust them with her finger.
Oh, not at all. I don't mind.
When she saw Ban, her expression turned slightly fearful before bowing her head in greeting a moment later. Ban felt somewhat hurt by this. He made every attempt to look as non-threatening as possible, in both bearing and appearance. But the girl's reaction made him realize that despite his best efforts, the ferocity and intimidation, particularly to detectives, was seeping out all the same.
Looks like I've still got a lot of practicing to do,
He thought with bitter adjustment as he sat across from Yua.
Kuzunoki Yasua-san. Yua-san, right?
Yes.
The older twin sister of the late Miya-san. I got that one right too.
Oh, did we know that she was a twin? We probably did somehow, right? I guess it's been a long time that we've been... Well, has it been that long? When did we start this? I feel like we started playing this sometime in August? That's not that long ago. Yua slightly adjusted her posture, then returned a nod. The first New Gen incident, the group dive, among the 5 high schoolers that had leapt to their deaths was a girl named Kusunoki Miya. Right, okay, so that's her connection to it. I'm sorry if we already established that and I've forgotten.
Well, there's no need to be nervous. Don't think of it as me interrogating you. Just think of it like we're having a nice old chat. But before we get to the topic at hand, mind if I ask you something? Yua-chan, what's your opinion on your sister's passing?
Ban-chan, what on earth are you?
Oops, sorry about that. Comes with the territory. I sometimes forget to be considerate when I'm talking to people. But still, I am curious. I overheard people at HQ talking about it, and they said that the late Kusunoki Miya-san's family was quite strange.
Ban-chan! No, it's okay.
Before Momose could rise to her feet over Ban's insensitive comment, Yua stopped her.
I also believe something is wrong with them.
The 5 that jumped off the roof in the group dive had no reason to commit suicide. Their friends and family all insisted that. But Miya-san's family was different.
Ban took his fan out from his belt and began to cool himself, as he's wont to do.
I've been told that they were the only ones who weren't adamantly against the idea, that they'd accepted it just like that. In fact, they said so little it was almost bizarre. Why do you think that is?
After Miya-chan died, both Mum and Dad snapped.
Anguish seeped from Yua's voice.
On the day we heard about Miya-chan, they cried and cried. Mum and Dad seemed absolutely heartbroken. And yet, the very next morning, for some reason I can't understand, they were smiling. Happily. It was as if they'd gone right back to how they were before Miya-chan died. It only took a single day. I was at a complete loss. I thought that maybe they were trying to forget about Miya-chan. But then, with this big smile on his face, Dad said something to me. He said, "You don't have a younger sister." Even when I showed him her clothes, her shoes, anything Miya-chan left behind, they completely disregarded it. They just said, "Those are just a few extras we brought for you just in case." They ignored both the news and everything the police said. It was like they were trying to completely erase Miya-chan from their memories. What you mean to say is they were trying to make themselves think that they'd never had twins.
And that's when they told the police that they only had one kid before turning them away.
Miya-chan and I were identical twins, so while our appearances were exactly alike, my parents, they didn't really like my sister. And yet, she always kept her feelings secret, and she always put me before herself.
As Yua spoke, memories from when Miya had still been alive resurfaced in her mind. First came a memory from when the two had been in elementary school. One day, some relatives had brought the girls a single large teddy bear as a present. In contrast to the raw joy Yua displayed, Mia insisted that she did not like stuffed animals, and proceeded to not even so much as look the plush's way. Okay, weird way to phrase it. Both her relatives and parents were upset with Mia for not acting as a child should. But despite Mia's protesting, Yua whispered to her that the two of them could share it, that it could be something that they both could treasure. They could both treasure. However, in response to her sister's kindness, Mia simply said that they did not want it, and that Yua could have it. About a month later, when Yua had grown tired of the teddy bear, she woke up in the night and happened to witness a certain scene. With an incredibly joyful look on her face, Mia was hugging and talking to the bear plushie. That was the first time Yua had ever seen her sister so happy. Is it gonna be that sometimes when we see Yua, it's actually Mia? Like in the past? Like, is it going to be revealed that she didn't die? And the fact that she didn't die means that we don't know when we see Yua and we don't know when we see Mia. And from this, she realised that her sister's insistence about... Sister's Insistence is a good name for a band. About disliking stuffed animals had been a lie. Mia had been keeping her own feelings hidden, all for the sake of her older sister. Ah. The next day, Yua found a lovely drawing of a bear beneath Mia's pillow. Until her sister had grown tired of the teddy bear, Mia had been hugging and sleeping with the drawing in lieu of it. Lieu of it? Is that how you say that? In lieu of it? Things very similar to this happened again and again over all the 18 years they spent together. For their birthday celebrations, Yua always blew out the candles on the cake. But when Mia was prompted to do it, she would say, "I refuse to do something so ridiculous," angering her parents. Yua advanced to the private high school, Sumai Academy. Mia, meanwhile, had been misbehaving at school, deliberately scoring low on exams, and therefore moved on to a public high school. Due to the exorbitant fees, their parents would have only been able to afford to send one of them to a private school. No matter how hard Yua tried to let her sister have something, Mia would always gain the upper hand and force Yua to be prioritised. To achieve this end, she even intentionally took a dislikable attitude.
To the very end, I took advantage of Mia-chan's kindness. Before now, I only ever thought to myself. After Mia-chan passed away, I couldn't help but think there must have been something I could have done for her, and I felt so much regret. I wish that I could have died in her place. And even after everything, to think our parents forgot that she even existed. It's all too much. It's too sad for me to take.
Yua, having now reached her limit, could no longer squeeze out any more words. She took off her glasses, pressed her fingers against the corners of her eyes, and broke down in tears. Momose sat down beside her and gently rubbed her back.
Well, it sounds like Yua-chan's been investigating the incident on her own. Also, she could find out what happened to Mia-chan.
None of that's easy. Must be really hard on her.
And in the process, she was able to identify a certain individual.
Takumi.
Huh?
As Momose held Yua's shoulders, she turned her eyes toward Ban.
Nishijo Takumi's-kun.
Ah, I see now.
Stroking the stubble on his chin, Ban leaned forward from the sofa.
At some point or other, or another, I did hear about the non-stop pursuit starring Nishijo and a high school girl. A detective from another jurisdiction let me know. Might that have been you, Yua-chan?
Yua nodded apologetically.
Interesting. Very interesting. Would you mind telling me more? Actually, I was going to ask if you could tell me more, but I've got to duck out for a minute here.
With a strange smile, Ban lightly bowed his head to Yua and Momose. His words had been interrupted by the cell phone in his suit pocket. He swiftly took out the phone and checked the screen. Sua's name was displayed across it.
Yeah? What you need, kid?
Sir, the 7th's here.
What'd you just say?
Sua's voice sounded strained. The sounds of investigators frantically scurrying about could be heard through the phone. Sua must have been at the investigation headquarters. The 7th New Gen incident happened. Van's eyes opened wide, and his expression turned bitter as his teeth sank into his lip. Sensing the seriousness of the situation from his behaviour, Momose and Yua watched the detective with unease. 3 Vics. Apparently they were buddies. All 3 were sliced in half at the torso. The upper and lower halves were then swapped around, and then using synthetic fibre, well, fishing line to be specific, the mismatched halves were sewn together. Gross. They also had wounds on their foreheads in the shapes of the letters Q, D, and N. DQN. Whoa, okay, that's interesting.
Some kind of message.
No clue. And it doesn't end there either. The autopsy found something pretty interesting. The severed parts of the Vic's torsos weren't split by a knife, a saw, knife, or any other kind of sharp object.
Then, how'd they end up in half?
Apparently they were torn apart by some strong force.
Torn apart?
Van repeated Sua's words back to him with a low groan, then roughly scratched his head with the handle of his fan.
Like a monster did it, or like one of those wizards that are real popular nowadays.
Sir, are you being serious?
Sorry, but it doesn't matter how big of a movie buff I am. I just don't see myself agreeing with that opinion.
Oh, hang on. That was the other guy.
I'm just making a comparison, you schmuck. Never mind that. Just get back to investigating.
After barking that order to Sua, Ban ended the call. Oh, and it's off. We're done. The 7th New Gen murder. Now that it was November, I had a feeling that the sun was already setting much earlier than before. By the time Remy and I started heading home together after school, a faint orange was already staining the sky. I'm sorry. Oh, Remy. Despite being silent up until now, Remy abruptly apologised. It must have been really, really hard, Taku. It was the first time I'd gone home with Remy in a while. I was genuinely really happy when she'd come back. She'd even been the one to initiate it, saying, "Let's walk home together." Since we'd only gone home together no more than twice, I'd secretly been worried that it would never happen. It would never happen again. However, that turned out not to be the case. I'm sorry. I wasn't by your side. In that earthquake, someone I know got hurt. And I've been taking care of them ever since. Even though I hadn't asked, Remy was kind enough to explain herself to me. Okay. Though to be frank, almost all of Remy's words were going in one ear and out the other. The bandage. The bandage I'd seen on Nanami's wrist at lunch break. It had been burned into my eyes and refused to go away. Are you mad? In the end, I'd failed to say anything to Nanami. I'd been too scared. Even though Nanami was my little sister, even though I was Nanami's older brother, something had just felt unbelievably strange, and I Had no idea what it was. The nurse had said that Nanami had no injuries. That hand that Shogun had delivered to my base had disappeared from the fridge without a trace. It all had to have been a delusion. But if that was true, why had Nanami's right wrist been wrapped in a bandage? Well, it could have been any multitude of reasons. Though it was possible that I was just overthinking it, and that she'd just gotten burned or stung by something or got some other stupid minor injury that didn't matter at all. Yeah, that was probably it. That was the most logical answer. But even now, I was still too scared to check. Even after failing to save her, I was still just pacing around doing nothing. Not even trying to talk to her. My very own sister. I really was the worst brother ever. Taku? Hello? Are you listening? If you're mad, then just say so. Just being ignored like this hurts pretty badly. Huh? I looked over at Remy, who seemed weirdly disheartened. Oh, huh? Have you not been listening this whole time? After hesitating for a second, I nodded. And the moment I did, Remy jabbed my cheek with her forefinger. Fishy! And here I thought you were giving me the silent treatment. Don't be so confusing. Communication is key. Ow. You just jabbed your nail into my cheek. Are you okay? Remy finally stopped poking me, and out came those words I heard so often from her. Words of worry and concern. Words that I'd heard from Remy again and again. Ever since lunchtime. You haven't been looking so good. You seem pretty drained, too. Oh no. Was someone mean to you? If so, then you better tell me. I'm ready to get mad right along with you. She was acting like an older sister, or a guardian even. Remy was just a hopeless meddler. Well, that had been obvious from the moment she'd given an autography like me the time of day. I was grateful to her for being worried about me. Before now, I'd either bottled up my worries deep inside or posted them anonymously. Posted them anonymously on @channel. Should I tell her about what had happened with Nanami? But when I told her about the D-sword that one time, she hadn't believed me at all. Then again, that would be the natural response from anyone sane. So if I were to tell her about Nanami, she'd probably either A, be speechless, or B, just laugh in my face. And if that was true, there really was no point in telling her. All I needed was for her to stay by my side. It would be better to bring the topic up with Kozupi or Senna instead. Just as messy as ever. Ha ha! Mere moments after stepping foot into my base, Remy muttered that in exasperation. And yet, paradoxically, she seemed to be smiling happily as well. Weird. Guess some things never change. It wouldn't really feel like your room if it wasn't messy. If you're going to be like that, then just clean it. Be my guest. With a sigh, I turned on my PC. Hang on a second. What? Are you seriously getting on the computer the second after we got back? You've got a friend over, so can't you at least show the tiniest bit of hospitality? Come on, why don't we just talk for a little bit? Is she trying to stop me being on the computer? Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Green or red, green or red. Flip a coin, flip a coin. I've got this here. Okay. Heads, green. After hitting me with such an unreasonable demand, Remy sat down on the sofa. I'm kind of worried what this is going to actually show me. If I tried to have a one-on-one conversation with a 3D girl, it'd be over in seconds. As much as I'd gotten used to talking with Remy, since I'd had a lot more chances to do so recently, I still doubted I'd even last 5 minutes. Moreover, my head was already fully occupied with the stuff about Nanami, so I very much didn't feel up for a casual conversation. And so I resorted to just ignoring her. I sat down in my chair, all while remaining painfully aware of my own worthlessness. Are we having a delusion? Doesn't seem wiggly. I sensed her moving behind me. The rustling of her clothes was growing closer.
Don't ignore me.
Oh. Before I had the chance to turn around, I was embraced from behind. A gentle floral scent hit me. My back was struck by the soft sensation of Remy's breath. Oh my god.
Don't do that to me. It's lonely without you.
I must have been running away from reality again, giving myself a delusion that was a lot easier to swallow than the real world. Upon thinking that, the sheer emptiness I felt overpowered any lust I may have had, and I was no longer able to enjoy the delusion anymore. Rather than taking her and pinning her down to the bed, I decided to throw out all the things I could have only voiced in a delusion such as this. Oh. I was lonely too. It was so hard, not being able to get a hold of you for that entire week. I could feel the movements of Remy's body directly against my back. Her chest faintly rose and fell with her every breath. As obvious as the fact As obvious as the fact may have been, it reminded me that Remy truly was alive.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't have been there for you.
Remy tightened her embrace around me.
I still had doubts deep inside me. I didn't know what to do, so I thought that maybe I should think it over for a little while.
Huh? Doubts? Like what? What could you have been talking about?
About whether it's really okay for me to stay by your side at all. About whether I should really let this relationship go on. But I know that if things keep up like this, everything will go wrong. And won't be able to save anything. Hey, Taku. In the beginning, I only had one wish. One single wish.
But while that might have been true once, why do I keep wishing without end? When I found that scar, what's she talking about? That's what I said. I had no idea what Remy was talking about, nor did I know how to respond to it. Silence enveloped us. I could hear Remy's gentle breasts close to my ear. I could hear her breasts. But no matter how long I waited for her to end it with some silly punchline, none ever came in the wafting silence. Was it possible that this wasn't a delusion? The moment I considered that, a wave of anxiety ran through me. In reality, Remy was hugging me. She was pressing tightly against me. That realization alone nearly destroyed any sense of reason I had. I had a feeling that in a situation like this, if I pinned Remy to the bed, she'd let me have my way with her. With a gulp,
You've got mail, you big dum-dum.
Huh?
What was that?
Remy let go of me in surprise, and the tender sensation vanished along with her. A complicated mix of both relief and disappointment spread through my chest. Wait a second. Remy had just heard my Serotan notification tone. Oh god, how embarrassing. When I opened my email software, I saw about 3 messages from Grim, telling me to join the chat room. Now that I thought about it, I hadn't really chatted much with Grim recently. We'd used to talk online pretty much every day. But since I'd been refraining from playing ESO, it had been around 10 days since we'd last talked. But up. Alright. Yo. Ah, Nighthawk-kun. I've been waiting for you. Because there's been another nude gen. What are you even on about? New gen, dude. What the fuck do you think I'm on about? How exactly did we go from new gen to new gen? New generation, new gen, new gen, new gen. Come on, that shit's obvious. Use common sense for fuck's sake. More importantly, there's a 7th case. What is it? Oh, hang on. Remy said that, but whatever. Likely having noticed my gasp, Remy stood up and walked over to me. She peeked over my shoulder at the monitor. The 7th case. It had happened again. Another new gen. How long was this damn thing going to go on for? Was I next? Would I be the victim of the 8th case? The 9th? Taku, you got nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. No one's coming after you. You're perfectly safe. You're just being a little bit paranoid, okay? That was completely baseless encouragement. You can't calm me down with such weak sauce shit, Remy. Anxiety aside, Grim was pretty much the new gen news guy at this point. He'd been keeping me in the loop about basically everything. Even now, he was going out of his way to link a bunch of blog posts and news articles about it. It seemed like he really wanted me to take a look. Biting my lip, I reluctantly clicked the first link. See these people chopped up? 7th new gen case dubbed the DQN puzzle. Uh-oh. Yeah, dead bodies of 3 men were discovered hanging from an iron pole near a railroad in Shibuya, Tokyo. The deceased have been identified as 19-year-old Fujita Kohai, I don't think we've seen that, Anzawa Shibuya, and Takago Ryo. I don't think we know any of those, do we? So, severed in half at the waist, but the wounds did not indicate the use of any sharp weaponry. Furthermore, the bottom halves of each of the bodies were interchanged with one another, forming new combinations, which were tightly sewn back together with thread. Carved into each body were the letters D, Q, and N, respectively. On a popular anonymous online message board ad channel, images of the incident were leaked prior to the official coverage of the events. Who's been putting it on this forum? Has to be someone in the police, doesn't it? This has already been accepted as the 7th case of the New Generation Madness, also known as New Gen, and it was christened the DQN puzzle, due to the manner in which the top and bottom halves of the corpses were recombined. Notably on @channel, the term DQN means an individual lacking basic common sense. Regardless, the serial New Gen cases, the mourning families of the victims have been taking legal action against some particular offensive posts on @channel, a move which has sparked fierce debate online. Alright. New Gen for the win. Wait, it says DQN. Literally zero connection to the other cases. Police are dumb as fuck. Ruffle. You trying to say it's one of the anti-DQNs? With the lower bodies swapped around and shit, it's like a puzzle, but with corpses. If only I could trade in my upper body with some alphas. Lamau. Group day. DQN puzzle. Okay. Oh, hello. At approximately 4:50 this morning, near a railroad in Shibuya, a passing newspaper salesman discovered the bodies of 3 male homicide victims suspended from an iron pole. The police investigation discovered that the victims were all residents of Shibuya. Fujita Kohai, unemployed, Anzawa Saburo, college students, and Rakagi Ryo, a construction worker. I could never read the news. Don't know how they do it. Each victim has been severed in half at the waist. Their upper and lower bodies were then interchanged with one another and stitched back together with the thread. There were also mysterious wounds carved into their foreheads, and the police were investigating the possibility that they may be a message left by the culprit. The authorities believe the case is part of a series of grotesque murders that have been occurring in Shibuya over the past 2 months. The investigation is ongoing. Oh, what's happening here? I shake my head up and down. At the end of the news clip, photographs of the 3 victims were shown. I had seen those faces before. You had?
It's them.
You know them?
The guys...
Oh! Oh, okay. The ones that apparently, what's her name, dispatched of, but didn't kill.
The guys who beat me up yesterday.
I'd given them my wallet, but they'd kicked my ass anyway. I'd then fallen unconscious, and when I woke up, Kozapi was beside me. The three of them had collapsed on the ground, covered in blood. I dug my wallet out from my pocket and stared at it intently. When I came to, Kozapi had been carrying it, and she'd given it back to me soon after. Could the person who'd killed those three be... Interesting. No, definitely not. The last time I'd seen them, they'd been beaten to a pulp and covered in blood, but they hadn't been cut in half or anything. Which would mean they'd been killed after Kozapi and I had left. It had to have been Shogun. That wrinkly asshole was trying to provoke me. Damn it, he really was committed to driving me insane. Just how far was he willing to go? I wanted to vomit. I clutched my stomach as it churned in pain. Was I next? Would I be next to die? And that's enough. A hand reached out from behind me and pushed the power button on the monitor. The screen went pitch black. I mean, if you do that, the speaker's still... Oh, whatever. Take a deep breath. There's nothing to worry about. There is something to worry about. It's just a coincidence. It has to be. Why was Remy acting so ridiculously optimistic? This couldn't possibly be just a series of coincidences. More importantly, I'm starving. Hey, there's this one place I go to all the time. You want to grab something to eat there? It's both tasty and cheap. You've got my Remy guarantee. Well, a lot of the customers there are on the older side, so it's a little embarrassing for me to go on my own. Oh, and you have to go inside a train station to get to it. Shibuya Station, to be specific. If you take the inside route, you can get to the platform, where it's via the Yamanote line, or you can go in straight from outside. Me, though, I definitely prefer the inside route. Food, huh? I really didn't have much of an appetite right now. It felt like Shogun was holding a knife straight to my throat. Like he was saying, I can kill you whenever I please. Please, just let me go. What had I done to deserve this? I couldn't take it anymore. Oh, sword. It's Fez. Kishimoto Ayase was lying in a hospital bed, idly gazing out the window. No bars line the outside of it. In fact, no bars line the outside of it, a fact which set it apart from those at Arkheart Medical, where Ayase was had stayed in the past. All that stood past the window's frame was the landscape of Shinjuku, decorated by skyscrapers and illuminated by the sunset. Flocks of pigeons soared freely through the sky, flapping their wings to their heart's content. Every now and then, she would gaze upon this sight with a pained expression. Her slightly tired eyes were empty and bleak. Her irises reflected nothing. Her lips, which could let flow a voice so beautiful, it shook the youth of Shibuya, were now sealed tight. Not even so much as a hum escaped from them. Following her suicide attempt, an event which caused quite the turmoil, she'd been admitted to the psychiatric ward of a large hospital in Yoyogi. Her injuries were already very nearly healed. According to the doctors, it had been nothing short of a miracle that she'd been able to survive a fall from that height, let alone with barely even a scratch. However, she had indeed hit her head fairly hard, and as such, she'd been rushed to the hospital, primarily so that they could see how the situation would develop. It had already been over a week since then, However, despite her having been admitted for such a reason, all it seemed to entail was a few rudimentary tests taken every couple of days or so. Beyond that, she'd been rather neglected. Her hospital room was private, with no other beds inside it. Ever since her stay had begun, her D-sword had been leaning against the window. It constantly emitted a blue light, yet nobody who visited her ever seemed to notice. Not that there'd been many visitors to begin with. Phantasm fans would attempt to force their way into her room daily, but as they always caused a disturbance, in the process, the hospital had an excuse to forbid them from visiting her. And since Ayase was somewhat detached from her family, there were almost no others who came to visit her. Her fellow band members who had made an appearance once, but Ayase used that opportunity to announce her decision for the band to break up. They'd not contacted her again since.
Kishimata-san, did your thermometer beep?
A nurse was wearing white scrubs. A nurse wearing white scrubs opened the door to the room, then swiftly entered. Ayase slowly turned to look at the nurse's face, then took out the thermometer that had been resting under her arm. It was as if she'd only just remembered its presence. The nurse took a look at the recorded thermometer, shown on its digital screen, then took note of it on the clipboard that she brought with her.
37.1 degrees Celsius.
You have a very slight fever.
My head hurts.
Ayase grimaced in pain once again.
Oh dear. Is your headache back?
I'm afraid that's just a side effect of the medicine we gave you. It'll be gone before long, so try your best to ignore it. Having recorded her temperature, the nurse consoled Ayase with a small smile, a kind smile. Her expression was so gentle it was clear to all how she was able to put her patients at ease. And yet, despite the nurse's attempts, Ayase simply pushed her hand against her forehead as she shook it back and forth. Ayase had been plagued by mild headaches ever since she'd first been hospitalized. They were not especially painful, but they still left her with an uncomfortable feeling that refused to go away, one that felt as if her brain itself was convulsing. It even reached the point where her ability to think was impaired. As well as this, her body would feel as heavy as lead. Ayase had experienced such symptoms in the past, namely when she'd been institutionalized at Ark Heart Medical. Back then, her head was had been constantly split apart by painful headaches. Jesus Christ. Back then, her head had been constantly split apart by painful headaches. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It deprived her of all sleep and emotional stability. Nearly made it. Those were the memories she did not want to resurface. The past she'd sealed away. The events of around 2 years ago. And yet, her headache was causing them to flash back into her mind once more.
Ooh.
In them, a dark room, its single window locked behind bars. Apart from the wall in which the window stood, the rest of the walls were covered with mirrors. Ayase had been placed in the center of the room, sat in a crude steel chair. She was wearing headgear with countless cables protruding from it. Her hands were tied to the back of the chair. Her head was locked in place with her chin tilted slightly upward. That's not comfortable. That's going to give you a headache in itself. Not another soul was present in that room. Thus all that could be heard were the sounds of Ayase's laboured breathing and the metal groans of the chair she sat upon. Saliva trickled down the corners of her mouth, accompanied by moans akin to those of a beast's. If anyone were to hear them, they would never have been able to guess that they would be coming from a girl as young as her.
Kill me. Kill me.
She was being tortured. Slow, methodical torture, one that made very, very little sound. The method only involved one single thing: not even in action. A drop of water falling from above onto her forehead every 5 seconds on the exact same spot. Water torture. That was all it took. And it would continue unrelentingly for 2 full days. The result, Ayase could think only of the drop that would fall next. Her senses were sharpened to their limits. And each time a drop fell onto her forehead, another hallucination would be born. One in which each and every nerve across her body was plucked out one by one. One in which the bones of her entire skeleton crumbled to dust. One in which her head was pierced by a long, sharp awl. What's an awl? Is that a spike? Right, pause the episode, we've got to work out what an awl is. An awl, a small pointed tool used to pierce holes, especially in leather. Okay. One in which all liquids within her body, including her blood, froze to ice. One in which the skin lining her entire body slowly rotted away before eventually peeling off. Assailed without end of these sensations, Ayase could no longer maintain her sanity. No. Returning to her senses, she breathed erratically as she tightly gripped the sheets, lining the bed. Her body trembled as those dark memories of hers resurfaced in her mind. The nurse that had been in her room just a moment ago was already gone. Dinner time had just arrived in the hospital, and the clamorous sounds that came from it resounded from down the hall. Ayase tried to recall the words the nurse had spoken to her right before leaving. Was her headache really just a side effect of the drug that she was on? Or had it been caused by her hitting her head, perhaps? Or perhaps it had just been a hallucination brought forth by her past memories? She was unable to come to a decisive conclusion. Wiping away the sweat that ran down her forehead, Ayase called forth a smile, laced with self-loathing.
It matters not. It is in the past. For I endured and survived my divine punishment. I will not let it control me anymore.
Murmuring in perhaps delirium, Ayase soon became aware of a sound reverberating throughout the hall. The comforting sound of shoes stepping on the linoleum floor? Linoleum floor. It was certainly not being made by a nurse, and the sound of footsteps were heading right for the room that she was in. Someone knocked on her door, and she sealed her lips tight. Excuse me. Oh, it's him. That someone was but a single man. He'd come bringing gifts, namely a large basket filled with all manner of fruits. And we'll see what Suwa wants next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. I will see you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. Bye.